we have a little Gold Cup recap to get into as we talk about the U.S. men's national team and our prospects and our future. Greg Berhalter now going to be returning for those next set of games when they come up. BJ Callahan's time is done and dusted. But I want to give the floor, the platform, the microphone to the one and only Morning Footy Charlie Davies, because he wasn't with us last night for our reaction to our big loss in the semifinals to Panama and penalties, and we have to get that. I assume you're already triggered based on that performance, Chuck, so I don't even know if we need comments from the Trust Fund or from me and Heath to get you going. So take it away, Chuck.
I think to both of your surprises, I am not triggered. I'm
what?
I'm
what is
I'm
this?
not. Yeah, it's
like middle of the road Charlie right now.
I had no expectations for this team.
I think we all did say it was going to be a Panama but Jamaica final, but you're right about half.
I honestly didn't have high expectations for this team, and it was one of those things where I think BJ put the best lineup out. I mean, literally,
we got the front three we wanted. We did,
right. Aaron Long, I think, was the surprise in the back line.
Only because of
that was injury. That was injury,
right?
Apparently,
but given that you weren't inspired throughout this tournament, I mean, you look at St. Kitts and Trinidad. Those are games that, you're supposed to win by a lot of goals, and they did that. Great, you did what you're supposed to do, but you weren't inspired by this group in the Gold Cup. The first game against Jamaica outplayed the U.S., and I think the U.S. were lucky to come away with the point. And then you get your two giveaways. Then the Canada game, that was a weak Canadian side, and they pushed the U.S. all the way to penalty kicks. And then this game, I think Panama were the better side. They deserved to win. Early on, you had a nice boost from the U.S. men's national team. They probably should have scored, and they didn't. And at this level, if you don't score when you get opportunities, international, you end up paying the price. And Panama did enough to win this game, and I think they deserve to win.
Okay, that was a nice take there from Charlie Davies. I was waiting for some like this guy. Well, ultimately, you kind of said it, but you said it nicely that if you were on this Gold Cup team, Charlie kind of thinks you suck. That was
don't put words in my mouth.
Charlie hates.
Don't you dare put words in my mouth.
The U.S. men's national team adjacent
like
players. Yeah. If you are adjacent to the U.S. men's national team, Charlie doesn't like you. You've shown nothing.
I'm reading between the lines. That's what I'm hearing. I don't
hear
all these other words.
Make it a t-shirt.
Make it a t-shirt like the one I'm wearing. In the form of his life, but can't dribble for nothing, which is about Jesus Ferreira way back. That's a Charlie quote. Shout out to the Tercios family.
That was
P-Fuck. Sorry, P-Fuck. Tercios family for making these t-shirts for us. Okay, so what have we learned from this overall, this particular competition? Heath, I'll come to you. I want to say, though, before I do, I think the big winners were the guys that didn't actually play in this Gold Cup.
Would you give any positives in terms of the whole tournament to any of these guys? Did they go up in their stock? Did any player in particular stock rise playing in the Gold Cup?
DeJuan Jones. That's it.
DeJuan Jones.
But like I thought, Jesus Ferreira's stock, he stayed in the picture, but his stock didn't like rise versus like elevating above. Like I don't think that I still have him 3 in my depth chart, but I don't have him like anywhere like knocking on anything. But I think he kept himself alive. But DeJuan Jones, I thought his stock rose. I still think he's probably 3 as a left back, just because I think you have coverage that you could go with above him. But
who's number 2?
We have
I would say like Dest or Scally, yeah. Like he wouldn't be like I don't think his stock has risen to being like, okay, we've got our number 2 now. I think he's like in a bind. You can have him in the squad and you'd probably not go with him right away. But he's one that like at no point did I think he was out competed or outmatched or looked uncomfortable or didn't look up for the task or wasn't willing to scrap or just find a way overall to be impactful on a game, right? Even in a game where he's not his best, he had the cross in, and like those types of things I think are at least signal to me this is a player that can play at the international stage. Now, whether he's ready to really step in, I don't know, but his stock rose for me. He's the one. And Matt Turner, obviously.
Yeah, Matt Turner, I would say from a leadership perspective, we needed a leader on the field. We talked about it yesterday, Chuck, where I didn't really see any leadership from the guys that were field players. Goalkeeper wise, I thought he was excellent. I appreciate his demeanor off the field, taking responsibility for the goal against Panama, which he shouldn't have. After watching that again, I don't know what the hell Matt Miazga was doing there, trying to step when he didn't need to step. That would have solved pretty much all the problems. We just would have dropped off. But DeAndre Yedlin obviously holding a little bit deeper than Miles. Just a comedy of errors in that whole sequence for that back line. And Matt Turner's the guy that tries to take responsibility for it afterwards. I'm like, nah, dude, that's really nice of you to do, and I appreciate that from a leadership perspective. I agree with you with DeJuan Jones. I saw enough there, and I want to see him some more, and I think that he needs some other opportunities. There's something about Busio that I like. There are a couple moments there. I mean, again, when I look at him and I look at some others, Chuck, I feel about it's more moments. I see something that, okay, what does that turn into? Can he get more time with his club team that can turn into something that's more consistent with those moments? So Busio would be in there. Sands would be the same. I thought he broke up a lot of plays, and I think going to Scotland put a little edge in his game that maybe he didn't have before. I'd still like to see him play forward and make more line-breaking passes or switch the point of attack a little bit more.
Charlie's saying, like he's eating like an apple pie.
No, it's fine. Right but again, there were moments there where, okay, we're still looking for backup.
I was waiting for you to pick up on that, Heath.
Yeah, it's fine. And then Cade Cal, Jalen Neal, I think I like the promise there, but again, they're not ready yet. And I think yet's the key word for them. Everybody else, Mihailovic, I think, yeah, okay, we see some things, but he didn't take over the game. I wanted to see somebody take over a game. Ferreira, I thought, had some tidy finishes, but again, can he do that in bigger moments against bigger teams? I mean, that's ultimately what we're looking for. Not any of our number nines. Obviously, a tidy finish against Panama here, but then missed his penalty, right? You like looking for that guy to continue to be consistent in big moments, and that's I don't know who else you saw. I thought Miles Robinson probably took a step back, which was a little bit disappointing. But I thought he was good against Mexico, right? In the Nations League semi. So it's just kind of hard to know.
Yeah. I think you had your Sporting Kansas City glasses on when you were talking about Busio.
maybe.
Yeah. And Sands, I think
Zendaya took a step back too.
A couple. I think Sands, don't get me started now. I think Sands is a player that takes, I think, too long with his decision making, and he's not quick enough in those moments where when you need him to cover ground as a 6. I don't think he has the legs to do that against bigger opponents, against St. Kitts and Trinidad and Jamaica in the midfield and
sure
Canada. Yeah, sure.
All has to be taken into consideration who we're playing. I get it.
But yeah, Cade Cowell, I think he showed what he's lacking in terms of that final product in tight spaces. And when you don't have space, being able to make those quick decisions, that's where he really needs to develop. He's still super raw. You have enough there to say, oh, I can see the potential, but he's got to take those steps. And the Olympics, I see some comments in the YouTube section. Olympics is definitely where you want to see him continue to evolve and grow.
Okay. All right. So let's then move over to a question that was posed to us by our producers. Like, how should the U.S. men's national team approach future Gold Cups? The next one will be in 25, which I actually think will be an important one. Of course, the Nations League, I don't even know. Nations League every year, I don't even know what the hell's going on with the Nations League. But clearly there's more importance on the Nations League, and at least in how we're approaching it, than with Gold Cups. I think there's tremendous value in Gold Cups, but when you think about the summer before the World Cup that we're hosting,
you want a tournament.
We need a tournament, and we probably need to roll out our A team for that. So I would expect that if we had Nations League and Gold Cup back to back, we would roll the A roster for both, or maybe a little bit of a mix of A, B in that the Gold.
No,
Cup.
you go. I think you go with the best,
all A, all
best
the time.
Team. And the Confederations Cup could come back in a new edition for 2026. But you definitely want, after Copa America next summer, that's going to be obviously a reality check to see where we really are. And I think for Greg Berhalter, where he's evolved with this team, and then 2025, it's another tournament that you need to take advantage of because World Cup qualifying is non-existent for the U.S. You need to push these guys in that tournament vibe, get the familiarity. I'm sure there'll be a couple of new faces in the group, but ultimately, I hope we see Yunus Musa take a massive step forward, Christian Pulisic and at AC Milan taking a massive step forward, Balogun now being in this group. Hopefully he makes the right choice with his decision of it for his next club. Timothy Weah as a right wing back with Juve. There's all these, Weston McKinney could be at a new club, Tyler Adams, all of these players. I hope they continue to take steps forward. And then ultimately this national team just becomes an absolute beast for 2026.
Yeah, I saw a comment there, Heath, that said, I like having tournaments where our BC team can play because, and I'll further it. That's what they said. Because we get to evaluate them in high pressure situations and will they sink or swim? And we saw a lot of guys either sink or kind of just stay the same. Doggy paddle their way. They weren't taking Michael Phelps like strokes to get into the A team in this particular tournament. But you asked us to do some homework yesterday about kind of our top 2 or top 3 in every position. And I actually did the homework, Heath. I would listen to you and I did my homework and I got a little tripped up in midfield because now with
this
Reina
is why, by the way, this is
10.
why you and I never got you and I didn't like you as a player because you were a nerd, dude. Like Chuck and I knew there was homework. We didn't do homework. Chuck, we didn't do homework. Jimmy got off and told his wife, "Hey, it's gonna be a late one for me. I got homework and I'm gonna show up early. I'm gonna sit in the front row and I'm gonna be the first one to present my answers." But anyways, Jimmy, you're caught up. So you're caught up in the central midfield.
Well, and then I got stuck because I thought we played well. And BJ rightfully put a 10, or what we wanted to see a 10 with Gio Reyna. I almost say Claudio Reyna, Gio Reyna in that space. And now when I try to put this depth chart of our midfield 3 together, I'm like, we got a lot of, I don't know who to put where. And so it was interesting. It was a nice exercise, to be honest.
It's usually Jimmy and Spectre doing homework together. Spectre, Jimmy, maybe Bornstein was in that group.
No, Johnny B, no chance.
Marcus Hahnemann.
Definitely. Yeah. Johnny B acted like he was doing it just so he could make sure Bob thought he was doing it. That's the only thing Johnny B was doing.
Yeah, actually, I don't know.
Johnny B was a raver in college, for the record. Like that was like his favorite thing to do in college. Yeah, post-college. Now he's a scratch golfer for the last 10 years and just getting sponsored by a team to be a scratch golfer.
Michael Bradley. You did it with Michael Bradley as well.
Michael Bradley was,
because you had 2 different ways of studying for sure.
Oh man, you're trying to tee me up for that. I'm not taking that's bait. That's bait for me. So I wanted to what's your depth chart? Let's go. Chuck, I'm gonna come to you. We'll let Mr. Homework Boy, who gave homework but didn't do it himself, have a minute here. Like who's your middle 3? Who do you start? Like the next game, it's a World Cup. Who do you start right now? Like you have. I mean, we saw Reyna, McKinney, and Musa in the Nations League, and we were good. We were on the front foot. Obviously, the addition of Balogun is going to change.
It's essentially McKinney or Adams. Which one are you starting?
So Musa's an automatic starter for you, is what you're saying?
For me, absolutely.
1,000% Musa's on the field.
Dynamic. I don't think MMA is the answer, but I don't like.
No, for me, Reyna's starting as a 10.
Okay.
We're evolving. We're moving forward. Reyna's starting.
Okay. Reyna's the 10. I like Musa over McKinney as well, but that feels that it given what McKinney has done, and I do appreciate what he brings to the team because it's not just the tactical or the technical. It's also this heart. He's got this heart when he wears the U.S. jersey in particular, where that dude is up for it. And emotionally, I think he's a leader for us. Can that work against us at times? I'm sure it can, but I still think it's a bigger strength than it is a weakness for the group overall and for him in particular. That Musa doesn't have. Like, he doesn't have that intangible in the same way. But I kind of like Musa over McKinney. So you got Adams, Musa, and Reyna.
Musa's 20 years old.
Musa has to play Jimmy.
I get it. I'm with you.
I
have him starting.
I will say this. Musa and Reyna are still the 2 players that I think have the most upside in our, and Balogun now, have the most upside of anybody in our player pool. And maybe I'm not thinking correctly right now.
Are you forgetting about Christian? Because he's still only 20.
Oh, no. but I think Musa has more
24?
potential upside than I think that Pulisic has upside, but I think Musa, when I watch him play, and this is my own personal eyes watching him play, he is a player that we've never had before in terms of his technique, his ability on the ball, his ability to break away with speed, his ability to change the game individually, right? When I think about moments where our team gets stifled by other teams, do we have a player that can change the dynamic of a game in tight areas, solve problems on their own? To me, I think he still has the most upside. I mean, with Reina as well. I don't want to rule out Pulisic, but when I think about literally where they are now as kids to where they could be, there is like star potential with them. I got Musa on the field, and unfortunately that means McKinney out because I want a 6 in there.
Well,
and Reina.
there's a good question though. Who's the better sub? Who's the better sub though?
Pulisic's only 24. Better sub. You also take into consideration who you're playing against. Are you going to have the ball versus are you going to be chasing the game? Or is this a team that plays takes a lot of set pieces, long balls? Do you need aerial challenges and duels? Because if the ball's on the ground, then Musa, it's not even a question. If the ball is going to be in the air, if the opponent likes to whip in balls, a lot of crosses, set pieces, then McKinney is such a dangerous player, both important in defending set pieces, but attacking set pieces in the air. Incredible when it comes to being able to build opportunities from jumping in the air and just absolutely dominating his marker. But
let me ask you this, Chuck. This 5 games in this Gold Cup. Would you have rather started Musa or McKinney would have been a bigger difference maker in this Gold Cup?
Oh, geez. In this Gold Cup.
Good question.
We played against the high balls. We played against the deep blocks. We played against open field.
In this Gold Cup, I would say Musa.
Yeah, same.
Because the U.S. should have possession against all of these opponents. And in some cases, you look at this midfield of Mihailovic, Busio, and Sands. None of them have the ability to dribble opponents and break out of the midfield on the dribble to create space and then draw defenders out of position, beat them on the dribble as well to create for other players. None of them have that skill.
Can I say, though, that Busio tried to do that a couple times. What pissed me off about it was that he would actually do it. It led to, listen, he tried to do it. I'm not saying he's successfully connected.
I
tried to be goalie and I tried to be a center back.
Yeah, but too. Chuck, you got to say at least Busio was trying to go like Mihailovic was literally playing backwards for 2 games straight and is an attacking player, but found the easy option. At least Busio, who lost it most of the time, was at least trying to turn and go.
I know, but he can't do that. He doesn't have that ability to do what Musa does.
I get that. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not comparing Musa to Busio. Busio is a poor man's to Musa. What I'm saying is that Busio tried to do it, and what pissed me off about this, so anybody that's coaching or if you're a player, if you take that space and then play the 2-yard safe pass right over to your right, like you've just negated all your advantage. And that really pissed me off. And I saw Busio do that consistently. And I think that Musa does a much better job, to your point, Chuck, of either continuing to drive and beating that first defender, which makes it even more difficult for the opponent, or actually making a forward pass that is also going to be pretty detrimental to the opponent. And I didn't see Busio do that enough. But I just wanted to make that compare and contrast because we're coming off the Gold Cup. Musa is gotten a lot better at that. We still want to see more of a complete product from him in the final third, but I think he's getting there.
I'll also add this. He's added a different dimension to his game that none of us knew he could do as far as being a lone 6. He did that against Canada and Mexico and bossed it. So he showed how dynamic he is in midfield. He can be defensive and lock it down if he needs to be to protect the back 4, or he can be an 8. And I think he has the potential to be a 10 and be a little bit more creative. And obviously that's the part of his game that really needs to develop, shooting from outside. He's even talked about it. I got to be a better finisher. I got to be better with playing 1-2s and linking up with the attacking trio. But he has that potential.